Once upon a time, there was a man who did nothing but gamble, and for that reason people never called him anything but Gambling Hansel. And as he never ceased to gamble, he played away his house and all that he had. Now the very day before his creditors were to take his house from him, came the Lord and St. Peter, and asked him to give them shelter for the night. Then Gambling Hansel said, "For my part, you may stay the night, but I cannot give you a bed or anything to eat." So the Lord said he was just to take them in, and they themselves would buy something to eat, to which Gambling Hansel made no objection. Thereupon St. Peter gave him 3 groschen, and said he was to go to the baker's and fetch some bread. So Gambling Hansel went, but when he reached the house where the other gambling vagabonds were gathered together, they, although they had won all that he had, greeted him clamorously and said, "Hansel, do come in." "Oh," said he, "do you want to win 3 groschen too?" On this they would not let him go, so he went in and played away the 3 groschen also. Meanwhile, St. Peter and the Lord were waiting, and as he was so long in coming, they set out to meet him. When Gambling Hansel came, however, he pretended that the money had fallen into the gutter, and kept raking about in it all the while to find it, but our Lord already knew that he had lost it in play. St. Peter again gave him 3 groschen, and now he did not allow himself to be led away once more, but fetched them the loaf. Our Lord then inquired if he had no wine, and he said, "Alack, sir, the casks are all empty." But the Lord said he was to go down into the cellar, for the best wine was still there. For a long time he would not believe this, but at length he said, "Well, I will go down, but I know that there is none there." When he turned the tap, however, lo and behold, the best of wine ran out. So he took it to them, and the 2 passed the night there. Early next day, our Lord told Gambling Hansel that he might beg 3 favors. The Lord expected that he would ask to go to heaven, but Gambling Hansel asked for a pack of cards with which he could win everything, for dice with which he would win everything, and for a tree whereon every kind of fruit would grow, and from which no one who had climbed up could descend until he bade him do so. The Lord gave him all that he had asked, and departed with St. Peter. And now Gambling Hansel at once set about gambling in real earnest, and before long he had gained half the world. Upon this St. Peter said to the Lord, "Lord, this thing must not go on. At last he will win the whole world. We must send death to him." And they sent death to him. When death appeared, Gambling Hansel had just seated himself at the gaming table, and death said, "Hansel, come out a while." But Gambling Hansel said, "Just wait a little until the game is done, and in the meantime get up into that tree out there and gather a little fruit, that we may have something to munch on our way." Thereupon Death climbed up, but when he wanted to come down again he could not, and Gambling Hansel left him up there for 7 years, during which time no one died. So St. Peter said to the Lord, "Lord, this thing must not go on. People no longer die. We must go ourselves." And they went themselves, and the Lord commanded Hansel to let Death come down. So Hansel went at once to Death, and said to him, "Come down." And Death took him directly and put an end to him. They went away together, and came to the next world, and then Gambling Hansel made straight for the door of heaven and knocked at it. Who was there? Gambling Hansel. "Oh, we will have nothing to do with him. Begone." So he went to the door of purgatory and knocked once more. Who is there? Gambling Hansel. "Oh, there is quite enough weeping and wailing here without him. We do not want to gamble. Just go away again." Then he went to the door of hell, and there they let him in. There was, however, no one at home but old Lucifer and the crooked devils. The straight ones were just busy in the world, and no sooner was Hansel there than he sat down to gamble again. Lucifer, however, had nothing to lose, but his misshapen devils, and gambling Hansel won them from him, as with his cards he could not fail to do. And now he was off again with his crooked devils, and they went to Hohenfurt, and pulled up a hop pole, and with it went to heaven and began to thrust the pole against it.
E began to crack. So again, St. Peter said, "Lord, this thing cannot go on. We must let him in, or he will overthrow the whole heaven." And they let him in. But gambling Hansel instantly began to play again, and there was such a noise and confusion that there was no hearing what they themselves were saying. Therefore St. Peter once more said, "Lord, this cannot go on. We must throw him down, or he will make all heaven rebellious." So they went to him at once and threw him down, and his soul broke into fragments and went into the gambling vagabonds who are living this very day.